$38,000, $58,000. And no, these aren't screenshots. This is my actual Stripe. Now, these aren't just some random numbers. They are some of our best examples of how our system can take a client from spending $100 a month to over $10,000 a month. And in this video, I'm going to break down this 3-step process that we use to take clients from A to B. If you're new here, my name's Taha, and myself and my business partner Mark own Prompt Advisors, which is a company where we help business owners essentially educate themselves on AI, as well as build projects if they are a good fit. We've done hundreds of projects at this point, and I use this channel to help people who are just starting their AI journey figure out where to go. All right, let's make some money. Now, I want to clarify, this is not going to be sexy, but it will work. Before I break down the steps, let me correct a false perception about selling any high-ticket solution. I want to talk about the difference between an inbound lead versus an outbound one, and why those two are not equal, not by a long shot. Now, for this example, let's pretend that you have a business that fixes floors, and somebody reaches out to you. By reaching out to you, they are admitting that they have a problem and think you might be the best solution for them to fix it. The customer has already done the work of actually identifying the problem. The homeowner in this example knows that their floors are old and they need replacing. You don't need to convince them of that. You only have to convince them that you are the best one to solve it. Here's one thing to consider as well. The very act of being found grants you authority. The fact that they searched you up on Google, if they saw an ad of you, or they got a referral, grants you credibility. Since they came to you for the solution, you get to be the guide, the doctor who is analyzing their condition and prescribing the solution. The reason I bring this up, you ever see one of those YouTube videos that says, I sold X product or I did Y thing for $10,000, and then you try to do the same thing, you can't get anywhere close to that? I was in the same boat. Now remember that a lot of these projects came from people who were watching a specific channel and then reached out to the creator to solve X problem. That is an inbound lead. And as we just discussed, you already have credibility, you already have the authority to charge whatever price you want. I know this from personal experience. Even with our brands on YouTube, we get leads every single day. And the products that we sell or the solutions that we provide, if we were to do outbound, we would have to charge 1/10 of the price just to get a conversation with somebody. This leaves us with essentially two options. Either you go the route that I took, create a personal brand, or the purpose of this video is to show you how to be able to charge inbound lead prices while doing outbound marketing and without creating a personal brand. Here's what you're gonna do. Step number one, you need a super low retainer that you can deliver quickly. Speed is super important here because it will differentiate you from all the other providers very, very easily. Most people are slow, and it needs to be cheap to increase the likelihood of getting that initial yes. Because the reality is, people will take a lot longer, or they will put a lot more effort into making a decision between a $100 product versus a $10,000 product. I don't care how good your sales skills are, those are just stacks. I will touch on the retainer part momentarily. And by the way, and this is not just some hunch, this is an actual psychological principle that was proven by, I believe his name is Robert Cialdini. Robert something I can't pronounce, in his book Influence. And he calls it the commitment and consistency principle. You might have heard of the foot in the door technique. It's essentially the same thing. Once somebody makes a small commitment, something as low as $100 per month, it makes them much more likely to stay consistent with that decision. And I've seen this firsthand. Sometimes I'll be on the phone trying to set up sales calls, right, for one of our $30 a month, $100 a month product. And I'll tell somebody who asks me, hey, how much is it? I'll tell them it's $30 a month. They're like, okay, let's just do it. This has really happened. They don't even want to see what the product is. It's so low that just thinking about whether or not I should get it or not, it's not worth my time. For some business owners, their time is so valuable that the time spent thinking whether a $30 or $100 is worth spending is not even worth thinking about. They would rather just spend it and see what comes out of it. Now here's step two. You've already got them. You've got your hook in. Step two is to reel them in. The way you do that is by having a consistent weekly or bi-weekly, not any longer, meeting. Now, this meeting is typically to discuss how your current deliverable is going, is to discuss any feedback that they have, any improvements that you can make, etc. But that's the secondary goal. The first goal is to actually provide as much value as possible, specifically a value that is disproportionate to the amount of money that they're paying you. If they paid you $100, try to provide $1,000 worth of consulting. Now, there's a couple different principles that play in here. One of them is the fact that human beings don't like owing others. So if somebody spends a bunch of time with me or spends a bunch of money with me or whatever, puts in a lot of effort, I feel indebted. People don't like feeling indebted, especially successful business owners. Now, keep in mind, you are not going to get rich by selling these $100 a month solutions unless you go the SaaS route. The reason you provide as much value as possible is because you're not going to get rich from the couple $100 a month that you're collecting. That is not the objective. The companies that we work with typically make between 3, 4, 5 million in revenue and above. Now, if you're just getting started, don't focus on how much revenue they're making. Just focus on finding somebody who says yes. One thing to take into consideration and to remember is that companies who are making above a certain threshold, right, in the millions typically, they will have an insane number of problems to solve. The reason why we want them on a retainer, a really small one, is it buys us the time, the authority, and the trust to be able to dig deeper into what those problems are and for them to give us a chance to solve them. That is the true purpose of this retainer. It is not to make money, it is to give you an in into the rest of the business. So you can find the problems that are worth $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. And the fact that you've been with them for so long, let's say you have a solution that they've been using for 3 months, that is now 3 months worth of trust and goodwill. And if you've been providing them value on every single call, you will have built up so much goodwill by the time that you make the ask that it's a no-brainer. They trust you completely, assuming you've been doing a good job so far. Something to be careful of though is be careful with the problems that you decide to solve. As you're probably aware, trust can take years, months to build, but it can be destroyed in seconds. So if you're not sure if you can fix something, leave it as is. Do not touch it. Do not say you can fix something until you actually know you can. By the way, this system isn't new at all. This is not some revolutionary idea. If you've heard of the Trojan horse story, it's a classic strategy. And I think one of the most popular examples of this is Russell Brunson in his book, .com Secrets, where he talks about the value ladder, where essentially you bring in somebody at a low price point and you slow them, climb them up your different offers. And our weekly calls or the check-in calls are essentially the engine that move people from low ticket to medium ticket to high ticket. For us internally, at least typically we'll start seeing people move up the ladder about 2 to 3 months in. And at that point, we get to pick and choose what problems we want to solve. We've had clients where they spent $2,000 with us. Some have spent, as you've seen, $20,000, $40,000, $60,000. There is money out there and these people will spend the money. It just becomes a matter of whether they will spend it with you or with somebody else. So to recap, the entire philosophy that I've been running this business with, especially when I had no testimonials, no reviews, nothing. You start selling something that is super cheap to increase the likelihood of somebody telling you yes. That is the number one goal. Just get somebody to tell you yes, here's my credit card, put it on file and charge it every single month. Step 2 is you use whatever value you're providing, whatever service you're selling to get them on a weekly or bi-weekly call to check in, get feedback, and more importantly, provide asymmetrical value or disproportionate value to the amount of money that they are paying you. That over time builds up trust, builds up goodwill, and at the same time, you get to find out what other problems they need solved. Once you're comfortable with them and you found a problem that you can solve, you offer to solve it for them and you make money. Rinse and repeat, and you can find yourself making inbound prices even though you started off doing outbound marketing. That's the sauce. Once again, be careful using this because, like I said, or trust can take a long time to build, but it can be gone in a few seconds. Thanks for watching.